Yes, good morning once again to you, Samson. Good morning to everyone else. So for me, there are three quick things that came to mind as I looked at this whole issue of the nine outstanding constituencies. That if and the original total 12, right? So I was looking at the different constituencies yesterday. Three not declared, six that were declared at the constituency collation level where the EC says it cannot uphold, and then the three that they were able to recollate and declare a winner at Tesano. My first issue was that under such circumstances, what can the EC do, and what is the proper forum to rectify some of these anomalies that the EC detailed in its press conference? And this is where I agree with Mr. Oliver that administratively there should be room for the EC as the institution that provides overall administrative oversight of our elections to be able to resolve some of these issues. That was my view, that look, if some of these declarations fell short of the proper processes, then can we invoke the same administrative processes to reconcile that and let the EC deal with that? If that is under contention, then the other proper forum, then I started saying to myself, was then maybe you go to the courts and seek proper, and seek guidance and instruction as to what to do. But my preference, and this is where I believe that the EC could do what it is doing as a matter of proper administration of election. See, this also all boils down for me to, and I've said this over and over again, the issue of trust. If you look at the conduct of our political parties in this electoral process, and this need to protect the ballot, to protect the integrity of an election, comes down to the lack of trust. I'm still not sure what keeps fueling this cycle of trust and mistrust that we see from election to election. But for me, is what drives these things. And because the trust levels are that low, political parties feel this burden to engage in what I call extrajudicial activities to ensure that they are not cheated. So if it means calling on their political party supporters to be extra vigilant, to amass at these collation centers, polling stations. And yes, that public or that transparent nature of the counting and collation helps, build confidence in the electoral system. But that core issue of trust is what forces our parties to carry this burden of, if I don't participate in extremely keen oversight, I may be cheated. IPAC for me is a good platform to try and reconcile some of these things, but still, it just seems that day in and day out, that mistrust is not going anywhere. And I honestly don't know how you can get these, the parties to begin to rebuild some of that lost trust in the EC. I mean, and yes, I don't absolve the EC of some of the errors it has made and some of the things that it has also done, whether its actions or inactions contributing to it. You're talking of an institution that is enjoying only 11% of a lot of trust as per the most recent Afrobarometer, and that is what is fueling some of these things. So at the end of the day, though, wherever we end up agreeing is the proper forum for the resolution of this, I just hope that we get to that in a reasonable amount of time, because the more this is dragged, the more I feel like it just increases the angst that some citizens are feeling and political parties are feeling as well.
Before the election itself, I had referenced the former Soviet leader Joseph Stalin's statement, very famous statement, which Chief Justice Georgina Wood used as part of her foreword in Aku Banase's book, The Pink Sheet. And I was trying to use that to get my guests to demystify people's minds about the fact that the suspicion that the EC can cheat in elections. Because of the systems we have, that we understand is almost foolproof. If you put Akufo-Addo there as the electoral commissioner, if the votes are against Bawumia, he can't do anything about it, so to speak. Joseph Stalin said that those who cast the vote decide nothing. Those who count the vote decide everything. Do you think this is the thing that is informing part of the mistrust in this process?
Yes, but I recall in 2016, I was on one of these internet-based radio programs where the host repeatedly had been saying that the EC had been handpicked to rig the election for a particular political party. And I ended up questioning him as to why he's so convinced, and week after week he keeps pushing that narrative. Because in my opinion, we've built enough transparent processes into our election process if you compare 1992 to the most recent time, right? To the point where now political parties and their agents copies of the pink sheets, which is the record of the poll, and they can do even their own tallying and collation as they wait for the EC to finish the final tally and declare. So I personally don't believe this continued conspiracy that the EC as an institution can change the outcome of an election.
Then why
those who continue to make this argument, and maybe they know something that I don't know.
the NDC says
where I sit and what I've observed. I still need somebody to tell me exactly the mechanism by which
the NDC insists that it is their vigilance that led to the turnout that you saw in the Ashanti region, because the votes are always padded. Now, my substantive question is, if you, CDD, don't believe that, regardless who is put in the EC, nothing can happen untoward as far as elections are concerned, why did the CDD, together with Kodeo, Reverend Fred Digbe is on the line, protest and reject the appointment of Apiahene and one other by President Akufo-Addo? You insisted that his appointment should be revoked or that he should resign.
But you see, from what I understand, right, that when you're talking about an institution like the EC, where independence is key, to appoint openly partisan people to such an institution, for me, undermines that confidence that citizens have in the institution in terms of its independence, right? So again, for me, back to my point, it is more the independence and the fair treatment of all parties involved that is at key.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I think we'll pause on this matter here, but